Good morning, Midwest Speedfest, and welcome to today's showcase match of Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise Open World Randomizer here between Bahamut X and Gambit017. My name is Smapty, and I am absolutely pleased to be here to bring you this race today alongside my good friend and co-commentator for today, Rex Roll. How you doing, Rex?
I'm doing Rex. Yeah, it's understandable that you can get so excited for this race that you even mispronounce your own name. And, and so here we are with a really hype race. I'm really excited to be back at Midwest Speed Fest. I did the commentary for the Free Enterprise run last year. If you were there, if you saw what we did last year and you're seeing what we were doing this year, it's going to be completely different. We've got some really crazy flag set, and this is going to be a race today. Why don't you start talking a little bit about the run that we're going to see today, Smitey?
Certainly. So, yeah, for the uninitiated, just a brief overview on what Free Enterprise is. We call it an open world randomizer because the philosophy is to sort of keep the game as true to the vanilla speedrun of Final Fantasy IV as possible, while mixing things up enough that every run through the game is going to be entirely unique. To this end, the name of the randomizer comes from the fact that the Enterprise airship is given to you right from the beginning of the game, which means the entire overworld is your oyster to explore. What this entails is finding key items in various locations that is going to give you access to the rest of the game. Most notably, the two other overworld maps, the Underworld and the Moon, all of which have key items that they can find as well. Ultimately, they need to complete the objectives that they are assigned. Once they do so, they're given the crystal, which, if you're familiar with the vanilla Final Fantasy IV game, is necessary to flip Zeromus to his true form in order to damage him. The objective system is something that has sort of new this year for Free Enterprise, allowing for sort of custom-tailored runs through the game. And the runners have picked some very interesting objectives here. You'll see we have find 30 dark matters. That, if you're familiar with Link to the Past randomizer, it's sort of the equivalent of the Triforce Hunt in mode in that game. There are 45 chests throughout the game that will have dark matter items in them. In the vanilla game, they don't do anything. Here, they can be collected. Once a runner has 30 dark matters, they can be brought to the town of Agert and traded in for the completion of one objective. The other thing they'll have to do is break the Dark Elf spell with the Twin Harp. This is always a crowd favorite because we randomize custom songs for Edward's Twin Harp instead of the vanilla music. So it's always fun to see what we have there. We have the donation incentive for that. So that is going to be very exciting. The other two objectives were completely randomly decided. Trade away the Pinktail. Pinktail is a key item that will grant our runners, I believe in this flag set, it's just going to be a strong... no, actually will be the adamant armor, the strongest armor in the game. So that's going to be very, very powerful. And the waterfall boss is a early game enemy that shouldn't be too much trouble for our runners to complete here. So that is what they're going to have to do there. Now, because of the donation incentives, Gambit is going to have to complete all 4 of these objectives in order to win, whereas Bahamut X only needs to take on 3 of them.
And also with the donation incentives, you're seeing all these names that were all generously donated for, and you see them. Bahamut is currently entering them. You see them all on display there on Gambit screen. We have Motas, Stronk, Vanilla, Kyoko, Luffy, Misako, Greg, Hotbot, P. Besto, Potato, Bahamut, and Gambit. And so this is going to be our squad today. Now, there's only going to be a limited number of them that we're going to see throughout the course of the run, but we get all of the names to shine in their glory right now.
Yeah, one of the things that is randomized in Free Enterprise are the location of characters for recruitment. They are all in the places where you would normally recruit characters in the vanilla Final Fantasy IV game. However, the characters they find in those spots are completely random. So we might not necessarily be starting with Cecil. He might not necessarily be accompanied with Kane. And this is one of the things our runners are going to have to adapt to as they play through the game. Finding characters that are strong enough to add to their party, deciding what characters are going to be good at what situations, and determining their party makeup as they go, as they prepare for that final encounter with Zeromus.
Now, one of the things that you're going to find is going to be making things look really crazy, probably really quickly into the seed, is one of the fun flags that we've got enabled for this particular run is what's called push B to jump. And this flag does exactly what it says on the tin. If you press the B button, your character jumps. And jumping is not something that you normally do on the map in the Final Fantasy IV game. So this kind of enables you to skip certain squares on the map, ones that maybe you normally can't walk over. So you can jump over some walls or some mountains. In other places, you can skip over where some bosses spawn. And that's going to really make the navigation throughout the game really wild and crazy. And it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, if you're familiar with Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, the push me to jump might seem familiar to you. It was an April Fool's joke that was introduced this year, but it ended up being so massively popular as far as routing and sequence breaking the game that it's actually generated its own niche of flag sets. We have an entire league on the Free Enterprise Discord dedicated to push B to jump flag sets. It is a lot of fun, and it really rewards a deep knowledge of the game, where encounters are, and how you can manipulate encounter skipping.
Absolutely. And so it's going to be really fun to see exactly how far these runners are going to take it. They are going to have to open a lot of treasure chests in order to find those dark matters in order to complete that as well. But they'll have access to a lot of them right off the top of the bat by utilizing that push me to jump flag. So these two kind of work in tandem. Oftentimes, the 30 dark matters is considered a very difficult one to complete in a timely manner. But with the access to all the treasures that you have with the push B to jump, it becomes a lot more reasonable to do that in a quick amount of time. And that might be done before some of the other objectives. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly what routing our runners take in order to complete, well, in Bahamut's case, 3 objectives, and in Gambit's 4.
And yeah, another fun thing about that fact that they're going to be opening a lot of treasure chests is that we have the Wildish flag on. What this flag dictates is how populated these chests are going to be with high tier items, the availability of high tier items. All of the chests are going to be randomized from their vanilla components, and with that Wildish flag, we can see a lot of high tier, high powerful items, and this is going to really benefit certain characters. Melee characters really love to get their hands on a strong weapon, so characters like Kane and Cecil and Edge are all going to really see a lot of benefit from that Wildish flag. We also have the high tier summons for Rydia, Leviathan, Bahamut, Asura. These are all items that can be picked up so she can learn them rather than learning them through the side quests like you normally would in the vanilla game. So she is another one that can really benefit from this Wildish flag set as well.
Right. So there's just lots of options that are open for runners, and it's going to really be based on what the first couple key items that we're able to find are, and what the first couple of characters we're able to see are. From there, the world is going to be their oyster, and diving into different places, like you can get into the basement of Barry Castle right away. You can technically get to the underground without any other key items in this particular push B to jump world. So there's a lot of crazy things, and we're going to see exactly what the craziness is going to be and what the priorities of the runners are based on the key items and based on the characters are, in order to try to complete as many of these objectives as quick as possible in this race sort of environment. And so we're just getting everything set up to get this race started as quickly as possible here as well.
Yeah, and I think that's enough talking everybody's ear off. Let's put it into practice. I think the runners are ready to go here.
It looks like it.
Let's go ahead and get this showcase race underway. As soon as we see the runners hit new game there, the time will start. Just waiting for the runners to ready up, and we will be away.
Really excited to see what the runners have with this Rydia, and the partner character is going to be such a big thing as to what they're able to accomplish at the beginning of the run. So I'm looking forward to that, and they are off.
Yeah, Rydia is a character who's very, very dependent on what you find for her. And she's going to be accompanied by Dark Knight Cecil. So a little bit of a French vanilla start here with Dark Knight Cecil there. And that's the hook. The hook is a very interesting key item. It adds a little cargo hook to the bottom of your airship. What this does is lets you transport the hovercraft you find in Damcyan around and access some places you normally wouldn't have available to you on the overworld. Most importantly, that's going to give them access to the Eblin Cave, which is a route into the underworld. One of two ways you can get to the underworld, and definitely the harder one. The other way to get to the underworld is a key item called the Magna Key, which, when dropped in Agar, just opens up a crater to the underworld. The hook means they have to go through a very dangerous route through Cave Eblin and the Upper Tower of Babel, including 2 boss fights to get to the underworld. So if it ends up being the only way down there is the hook, it could be a little more difficult for our runners than usual.
Well, we'll see if it actually becomes very difficult with these jumping flags on. It might be a little bit easier for the runners today than it normally would be, but looks like they're already jumping around into the loot area of Baron Castle, trying to find really good gear with the T Wildish flags, as well as many dark matters as possible. You see in the upper right corner of each of our runners' screen a little DM counter. That's going to be counting the number of dark matters that they found. 30 is the magic number. There are 45 throughout the course of the seed, but 30 is what they need in order to complete the objective.
I already really like one of the items picked up by both runners there, and that is that Dancing Dagger. We were talking about how Rydia needs a little bit of help to do some damage early on. The Dancing Dagger is one of those items that can do it. It can be used as an item from the item menu while you are in battle to do a magic damage attack on a single target. It's a low to medium damage attack, so it's not going to be great for the end game, but for these early game bosses that only have hit point totals hovering around about 1,000 or so, it can be very useful for getting Rydia to be contributing in fights.
And it looks like Bahamut has decided to exit Baron Castle, where Gambit continues the hopping around to get into the watery the Baron Sewers sort of area as well, just to maximize all the treasure chests at the beginning. Doesn't want to loot here later. Get all of these checks out of the way. Get as many dark matters out of this as possible, and this is going to be kind of the balancing act that this race is really going to revolve around. How much do you want to dedicate to each of the areas that you go to? Do you want to pull clear to make sure you get all the dark matters right now, or do you want to concentrate on building up your party, building up the levels and everything that you need in order to complete the other objectives? What order do you want to do that in? And that's going to be a really interesting question for our runners to try to solve.
Most certainly. You can see on Bahamut X's screen here an area that we don't often see in some of the more traditional flag sets of Free Enterprise, and that is the Watery Pass. Because there are no actual objectives that need to be completed here, there's no key items to be found. It is weighted a little higher in the Wildish flag set as far as the loot that is available. So with the ability to jump around and that Wildish flag set making sort of incentivizing chest checks, you might be able to find some decent things here. A couple dark matters for Bahamut, but nothing essentially game breaking so far that he's found.
Right, and I think this is the thing. Like, this is a place that doesn't have any objectives, but there are a lot of treasure chests throughout this whole dungeon area, and with this dark matter hunt objective, these places become a lot more important. And as we learn over on Gambit's screen, that apparently Todd smells.
Oh, we did find something very nice, though, in one of those last checks that Bahamut checks, the defense sword. Now, Cecil starts out as a Dark Knight, as he does in the vanilla game, just like vanilla Final Fantasy IV. In order to transform Cecil from a Dark Knight and job change him into a Paladin, you do need to complete Mount Ordeals. Once you do, he gains all of the equipment possibilities that he can as a Paladin, and that defense sword, very, very nice weapon for Paladin Cecil. Not only does it have very high attack power, but it has a tremendous boost of vitality, which makes him an incredible tank. Paladin Cecil also has that cover ability, which he can use to protect teammates, and he will auto-cover any teammate that's in critical HP, so that's going to be very, very useful if Bahamut runs into some tough fights where he needs some Paladin protection.
It's also a really good weapon for Kane if we are able to find that Dragoon to add to the team. It's a lot of runners consider the defense sword to be Kane's best weapon, and so if you're able to find something even better for a Cecil, you'd still be able to use that defense sword if you find Kane as well. in some flag sets, you're able to have duplicate characters, but in this particular run, I believe no dupes are on, so you'd only get one Cecil this time around.
I really love this play from Bahamut here, finding that defense sword, knowing he's got that Dark Knight in his party. He is immediately going to mount ordeals to make that job change we were talking about. Now, with push B to jump on, there are normally 3 boss fights that you have to do here, but those boss fights are triggered by stepping on a specific square, and well, you can just kind of jump over that square. So this is going to be a little bit easier of a completion than it might normally be. Also finding that crystal sword, a wonderful piece of defensive kit for Cecil. His Cecil is going to look very, very good once he's become a paladin.
That's for sure. A very good item found by Gambit in Village Mist, a dwarf axe. This is one of the ways that you can get Cecil to have what's called the back row glitch. It's a basically in Final Fantasy IV, there's the front row and the back row in your battle formation. And when you're in the back row, you take half damage from attacks. However, you deal half damage as well. If you've got certain weapons that have the back row properties, such as the dwarf axe, you can do full damage from the back row while still taking that half damage. The way that Final Fantasy IV works, if you unequip that weapon while you're in menu, that flag that puts you in the back row state or the able to deal full damage from the back row lingers on throughout the run, so you don't have to worry about it, and you get to get all the benefits without the penalties and use whatever weapon like that defense sword.
We have got quite a sighting there in Kaipo. Lying in the Kaipo bed, right, waiting for recruitment, is Fusoya. Generally considered one of the strongest, if not the absolute strongest character in the game, just by virtue of his enormous spell list. Fusoya learns every white and black spell in the game. In Free Enterprise, we put in a little thing to make him a little bit more balanced called the Fusoya Challenge, where he does not start out with his full spell list. Every time you defeat a boss, he learns 3 random spells and gains 100 HP until he gets up to his normal recruitable value of 1900. So he is an incredible addition. We do need to find the Sand Ruby in order to wake him up from that spot. But if we do, I know Gambit is probably going to making a beeline right back there to get Fusoya. He is a very, very powerful character to add to your team.
It's also worth noting that those bosses count even if Fusoya isn't in the party at the time the boss is defeated. So if you defeat a bunch of bosses now, then the time when you recruit Fusoya, he'll be a lot stronger as well.
Yeah, we should add, there's a little bit of questioning in chat who this character is. Fusoya has become such a centralized character in the current Free Enterprise meta that our actual tournament that we have going on, the Highway to the Zima Zone 3, has actually removed Fusoya from the character pool to sort of see what happens when he is not relied on quite so heavily.
Can I pop in with a quick donation?
Oh, please, go right ahead.
Awesome. We got a $10 anonymous donation with the comment Ocho, which I know is also a current meme of the league that we have going on right now. I also just want to remind everybody, we have, in addition to some of our bid wars that are going on right now, we have one last bonus game that we really, really want to unlock, and let's not wait on that. And that is to get that Breath of the Wild any percent run unlocked for the finale of the marathon. We need $1,000 to do it. We're about $300 towards that goal right now, so let's get those donations in and get that met.
Yeah, absolutely. If you guys think push B to jump is crazy, just wait till you see Stasis jumping.
All right, thanks, Moonblaze Wolf. And it looks like Gambit is running through that watery pass that we saw Bahamut run a bit earlier in the flag, and now I think Bahamut is really set to start to take on some more bosses and challenge. Now, the one interesting thing that you mentioned about Fusoya and the Fusoya challenge, defeating bosses, one of the things about the push B to jump is you can skip bosses. Like, there's normally the 3 bosses that we talked about on Ordeals, and Bahamut only fought one of them. So the Fusoya challenge is even more of a challenge in this sort of environment than it would be normally.
Yeah, right you are. Normally, you would have to be fighting so many bosses that he's just going to naturally power himself up over time until he gets to the point where you want him. But a lot of the philosophy behind push B to jump speedrunning here is avoiding as many bosses as possible. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So Crucelia might not be as heavily desired as he might be in other flag sets, just because you kind of want to avoid fighting as much as possible here. It's a little bit of a pacifist idea.
It's going to be interesting because it's also going to be about what are we going to do in order to eventually fight that Zeromus at the end as well. Because a lot of times in free enterprise, a big chunk of the experience that you get to end game levels is from defeating bosses. And especially if you're talking about getting the experience to defeat the end game bosses, like in the bottom of the Fame Archer on the moon. These are some really difficult bosses, and getting to that level itself, it can sometimes be tough without fighting bosses along the way.
Yeah, you are absolutely right, Rex. Zeromus is a very interesting fight in that you can have the best gear available to you, and he can still provide a very difficult challenge if you do not have the proper levels. His Big Bang attack is a very hard HP check on the values of your characters. So a lot of free enterprise routing involves finding a proper time to grind and get your team up to the proper level you need to be able to survive those attacks that Zeromus throws out. And speaking of which, we do have the Darkness Crystal being found by Edward in his bed in Troya there. The Darkness Crystal lets you raise the lunar whale from the bottom of the sea over in Mysidia, and is your means by which to access the moon. So we talked about gaining access to one of the other two worlds in this game, and now Bahamut X has that access. He can go to the moon whenever he likes. Some of the hardest bosses are there on the moon, but it is also loaded with key item checks as well. So it is a very tempting place to go once you feel that you are strong enough to handle it.
There are a lot of treasure chests up there too for finding more dark matters. However, a lot of the chests, especially in the lunar subterrane, are trapped. And trapped chests at this level are extraordinarily dangerous. So, I mean, I don't think that's going to be likely to go. Meanwhile, Gambit has gone up to Mount Hobbs, found the Imp summon for his summoner Vanilla, and finds the white mage, looks like it's Misako in this run.
Yeah, Misako, or Rydia, Rosa, as she's known in the vanilla game, is generally regarded as the best white mage in the game, and for good reason. Not only does her HP get generally high enough to easily survive the attacks thrown out by Zeromus in the final fight, but her white mage spell list is just incredible. Gets early access to some fantastic healing, and if you want her to do some combat damage, she's actually capable of that by equipping some strong bows. Especially, there's a piece of armor known as the Heroine Robe, which can turn her from a dedicated mage into a frontline fighter by boosting her agility, her strength, her vitality, and making her do some really solid damage as an archer. So Rosa's a very versatile character, a very beloved character.
Yeah, and Gambit had recently found a samurai bow, which is the second best bow in the game, so already set up to do archery if necessary. And that's kind of important when you only have one good physical character. And really, looks like Gambit is making the play to mount ordeals to unlock that one good physical character in Cecil. Meanwhile, we do see a run down to the Cave Magnus crystal room here, and we don't really need to talk to that Dark Elf. Let's hop over him and pick up that spoon.
Yeah, normally you would need the Twin Harp in order to access this location, as that triggers the cutscene, allows you to fight the Dark Elf, and eventually get the item behind it. But yeah, we just hop over his head. The spoon is a very interesting item. It is a 255 attack power weapon. In the vanilla game, though, no one can equip it. The only use for it is to throw it with edge. His Dart command lets him throw weapons. And you can do a nice solid 9,999 damage hit whenever you like. But we have a little fun flag that we like to use here in Free Enterprise, the Spoon flag. This lets everybody's favorite Spoony Bard, Edward, equip the spoon as if it were an actual weapon, and turns him into the very definition of a glass cannon. Incredibly frail physically and defensively, but with access to that spoon, he can do an incredible amount of damage. It changes his dynamic from sort of a dedicated support character hiding and popping out to throw healing items around into a actual frontline fighter. So something we might see if we see that Bard available for recruitment anywhere.
This is also a really interesting play by Bahamut to make that run to Cave Magnus at this point, since we do have break the Dark Elf spell with the Twin Harp is an objective. So once he finds the Twin Harp, he is going to have to go back there if he wants to complete that objective. Now, of course, he only needed to complete 3 of the 4, where Bahamut is locked into all 4. So he might be hedging, and maybe I don't need to go back there.
Yeah, I like it. It's kind of a bold play. It's sort of banking on finding that pink tail instead of the twin harp. I kind of like this though, because you already got a paladin Cecil in your party with a very strong weapon. If you're banking on, I'm going to find that pink tail, that's going to be my objective, you can slap an adamant armor on Cecil and have absolutely the strongest possible character in the game. The adamant armor, it's very difficult to undersell it. Not only does it have the strongest defensive value in the game, it adds a whopping plus 15 to every stat. 15 vitality makes you tankier, 15 strength makes you hit harder, 15 agility makes you go faster. It is incredibly busted piece of kit. So in this flag set where it's available, that pink tail is so valuable because it guarantees you finding a piece of it.
It also has like the most defensive property of any piece of equipment, and it resists all elements. So I mean, it's like people have considered it to be the best piece of equipment like throughout the entire Final Fantasy series. It's that good.
Yeah, I would be inclined to agree with that. It's you would be hard pressed to find something in a Final Fantasy game as game breakingly busted as the adamant armor, which is why as a kid I didn't even know it existed because of how you actually have to go around getting it within the game.
Looks like we are going to get an attempt to complete an objective here over on Bahamut's side as he finds the Fiend of Water, Kenazo, the water turtle, hiding in the waterfall boss. It's kind of appropriate. He is a water fiend. This is a water dungeon. Using that Zeus Rage in his inventory to break the gathering of the water here to avoid a big wave attack.
Yeah, that big wave, the only thing that could even possibly threaten Cecil's HP at this point. You can see how little damage he's taking, even standing in the front row with the defensive gear that we found already. And yeah, as you mentioned, that wave attack is based on Kainazo's remaining HP, but yeah, those Zeus Rages going to take him down easily. Cecil gaining a couple levels here, since he does go back to level 1 when he becomes a paladin, and that is an objective clear for Bahamut X.
Yeah, very nicely done. And now he's got access to basically the waterfall portion of this watery pass. Finds another dark matter here before he leaves. Sitting at 9, looks like Gambit's a little bit ahead of the dark matter race right now, but I think Bahamut might be a little bit better suited up with his party and everything. Although it is true that Gambit did pick up Rosa and Bahamut did not.
Little bit of a high five here from our runners as they are both converging on Damcyan Castle here. Quite a number of chests to loot in here, but the big prize, especially with that starting hook here, is that Damcyan Castle allows you to access the hovercraft, which we mentioned before. Pick that up with the hook and cart it around the overworld. Both of our runners might be thinking about making a play through the hook route here to get into the underworld.
And I think the more important thing is that it's also going to be required if you want to turn in that pink tail, because the Adamic Grotto is one of the places that you cannot jump to.
And believe me, people have tried to find a way to jump to it, but it is just not possible. You need that hook to get there. Interestingly, though, you can get to the Evelyn Cave route with some creative jumping. You actually don't need the hook in this flag set to get down there.
Do we have time for a quick donation?
Oh, always.
I have a $10 anonymous donation with the comment #GiveKaneMP.
Thank you very much for the donation. Kane, of course, needs that MP in order to cast Phoenix upon death. It's based on his remaining. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the 3DS version. My bad.
He does have a spellcasting animation, so I mean, it's only natural to give him MP. But I guess in order to do that, I see a Soma drop in the inventory of Bahamut there. We need to find Kane before we can give him the MP, though. That is definitely something.
Yeah, for those that don't know, that Soma drop does give 10 MP when used permanently on somebody. Usually it's used on somebody like Tella or Fusoya, who has a low initial MP pool, but if you want to give your Dragoon the ability to cast, the ability to have magic points, they can't really cast anything still. Go ahead and toss one on them.
It looks like we're going to continue on a bit of a key item look here for Bahamut X, who is going through the Antlion Cave. Now, we're 20 minutes in, and this is the first time one of our runners is going into Antlion Cave. This just shows how different the Push Me to Jump Dark Matter Hunt flag set is than a more traditional free enterprise flag set, because this is oftentimes like one of the places you beeline to right at the beginning of a run. Because it's a very low-level boss, easy to defeat. There's a lot of loot that you can get for either money or equipment, and so it's just a place that people gravitate towards early. But in this sort of flag set, I guess we aren't going to go there right away because there's a lot of other things that we could do.
Yeah, and I really like this tiara that Bahamut X has found inside of the Antlion Cave here. That is a wonderful helmet for any of the female spellcasters. Rydia right now is going to be making great use of it. It is a very nice defensive item, but also grants a huge bonus to the wisdom stat, which is the offensive caster stat in this game. So Rydia is going to make great use of that with her black magic spells.
And Gambit has gone ahead and turned in that rat tail, used that hook to pick up the hovercraft, went to the Adamant Grotto, and got the pass. Now, the pass is a really interesting item in Free Enterprise, isn't it, Smanky?
Yes, it is. In the vanilla game, it's used to access kind of an Easter egg area in the Troya pub, but it's been repurposed in Free Enterprise to sort of increase the routing decisions that runners have to make, incentivize hunting a little bit more. Normally, in order to get to Zeromus, you need the Darkness Crystal, and you have to walk all the way through all, 8-10 floors of the lunar subterrane to get to the core. Then you have to walk all the way through the core to get to Zeromus. It is a long walk. The pass kind of skips all of that. Just go turn it in like you would in the Troya pub, and instead of bringing you back to the secret club, will bring you to a teleporter that takes you right to Zeromus' sanctum. You can go right there and challenge the boss. So always a great item to have in your pocket. While it's not strictly necessary, it means you're going to be eliminating a lot of time off the end of your run by being able to go right to the final boss.
Bahamut X goes ahead and completes the Antlion Cave, just rewarded with the Dragoon Spear. Now is hopping his way out.
Yeah, Dragoon Spear is a very interesting item. It is a very, very good item for Kane. Doesn't have the best accuracy, which is sort of in the problem with a lot of Kane's spears, but it has some interesting properties in that it does a lot of damage to dragons. Dragon is a rather common enemy type as far as some of the tougher enemies in the game, so a lot of people like to have Dragoon Spear on backup, even if they're not using it as their primary weapon for Kane. Just being able to pull it out when necessary and deal that effective damage. The other benefit of that is that a lot of the grinds that are very popular with runners for being very quick and very efficient at getting the levels you need to finish off the game ends up being against dragon-type enemies. So that Dragoon Spear can give you access to those grinds maybe a little bit sooner than you might ordinarily have under regular circumstances.
And Gambit has completed the Waterfall Cave objective, defeated Kate Azo as well. So both of our runners, I should say each of our runners now have one completed objective, and that's great. Which means that Bahamut is in the lead because he only needs 2 more, and Gambit needs 3 more. So thank you to our donators for that.
Yeah, Waterfall Boss is one of those objectives that a lot of runners consider free when it pops up. A lot of these overworld boss spots aren't particularly tough, and they're going to be like the initial spots that you're going to be fighting for key item checks and such necessary. Anyway, just a small time allocation needed to go in there and get that boss, and the objective is taken care of. So yeah, not surprising that both runners are taking care of it at this point.
Yeah, I guess it's worth explaining that the way that the bosses work in this game is wherever you find the boss, like that waterfall spot, the boss that is randomly put there will have the stats of that spot. So it's HP, its strength, its agility, all that sort of thing is going to be based on whatever the boss was there. In that case, the Octoman boss. But it's still going to have all of the kind of script and like status abilities of the boss that's that it's been replaced with. So we saw Knazo will still gather the water, will still do big waves, will still cast fast on itself, just like it would normally. But it's going to have the strength of Octoman, so it's going to be a bit easier than it is, because you normally would fight that in Baron Castle, which is a later dungeon. You're facing it much earlier here. It's going to have lower HP. Its physical attack won't be as strong. That's the sort of thing. And when we're talking about the randomized bosses, that's how the boss mechanics kind of work in the free enterprise world.
Yeah, and it's actually very, very interesting because this can very drastically shift how you have to approach a specific boss because it's going to be inheriting the stats of whatever spot that it's in. All of a sudden, a boss that has relatively low magic power and you're not too concerned about its spells becomes incredibly threatening if you're fighting it in a spot that has very high magic power. So understanding what kind of stats you're looking at in a given spot, understanding what a boss's abilities are, what its capabilities are, how it's going to shift with different statistical changes is really, really important to sort of mastering free enterprise.
I think it really shows like what you can do, what you can learn, both about the like if you want to perform well in the randomizer, but you also learn a lot about how the vanilla game actually works through these changes that we see throughout the course of free enterprise.
Yeah, and the biggest the biggest discovery that you make playing free enterprise about how it works, how Final Fantasy IV works, is it barely works. There is a lot of cobbled together systems that they basically held together with will and duct tape, and some runners have chosen to some runners have sort of found out ways to really exploit that in their favor. One of those mechanics being the way agility is calculated in this game, and I'm not going to bore you all with all of the black magic involved in how agility works, but suffice it to say, the agility of your characters can have an effect on how fast the enemies are, since everything is sort of averaged around your own party's agility. So being mindful of that and preparing for it can make some bosses way easier than they ordinarily would be.
In fact, if you open a cartridge of Final Fantasy IV, you do actually see the duct tape that's used to copy it.
Can I hop in with a couple donations really quick?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to save you from having to explain agility to everyone, Smaped.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
I've got $5 here from Monster860 that says, donating to name the Twilight Princess file after our favorite furry character, and that is Tor from Neopets. Very nice donation there, Monster. I like that idea. And we have $2 from Taman ND that says, what's a popular chicken finger chain in Final Fantasy IV? Raising Cane's.
I love it.
There we go.
Absolutely love it. Thank you so much, Moon.
And now we're seeing a couple other checks here. The Bahamut has decided to go to the Baron Inn. We get Bahamut in the first spot. Pretty easy fight. And the Baron guards move next door to the other chair in the Baron pub. Meanwhile, Gambit is heading up to the Tower of Zod, even though he doesn't have the Earth Crystal. What? Yeah, this is another place where having access to the push me to jump means that you can do more in here, and Gambit will probably show off some other things. He's been showing off some really fun places that you can jump around in the throughout the course of this run so far. And I imagine he'll continue to do so as he walks on some ceilings there.
Yeah, that looks really dangerous for a small child to be doing. I'm really not appreciating Gambit's reckless regard for that child's safety. So
she's pretty nimble, it looks.
I mean, she is, but that is you got to supervise your kids better. Vanilla Baron Key over there on Bahamut's screen. So that's going to give access. Well, it's not really going to give much access because anything that accessible with the Baron key you can kind of jump to, but it is a key item.
Getting key items is still going to be important, especially when it comes to time to grind for our final levels. If you're at 10 key items, then the amount of experience that you get from your enemies gets doubled. So that just makes the time that you spend grinding that much shorter. So if you're able to get the 10 key items throughout the course of the game, then that's a good thing.
And I do want to point out a great find over on Gambit screen inside of that trap chest in the Tower of Zot. He found the Avenger Sword, one of my favorite items in the game. The Avenger Sword is a very, very high power weapon that is usable by either Cecil or Kane. But what it also does is puts the auto berserk status on your character so that they will start every battle berserked and there will be no way to remove it. What the Berserk status does is it multiplies your attack damage, and it makes it so that you cannot control the character, which may seem like a negative, but since the AI is actually inputting commands for your character, it actually means that your character's turns are coming out slightly faster than if you had to do it yourself. The AI tends to prioritize your characters when it's entering commands for them. This also means in certain fights that if you have berserked characters, the enemy might be getting fewer turns because it's prioritizing your character's input. So a lot of benefit to that Avenger Sword, a lot of damage going out, and well, we're talking about how great Fusoya is. Here he is inside a Tower of Zot, free to pick up for our runners.
At this point, however, the Tella might be a little bit more versatile than the Fusoya, just because Tella has all of his spells, whereas Fu is still going to be a bit lower level, as he only has 900 HP. That means he's only completed 4 bosses so far, and so going to be pretty light on his spell list at this point in time, whereas Tella has everything.
That is very, very true. Once you've completed Mount Ordeals, just like in the vanilla game, Tella relearns all of his spells, which is the majority of the black and white magic spell list. There are a couple of notable exceptions. Tella doesn't get some of the high power offensive spells like White, Nuke, and Quake, but it still makes him a very versatile caster. It still gives him access to some of the really great defensive spells. You get Blink. You can do some healing with him with the Cure, though his stats aren't fantastic, that it's going to be doing a lot of curing, but it still makes him a very effective caster going into the mid game.
Another fun part of the push speed to jump flag you can see over on Bahamut's screen. When you're on the moon, there's less gravity, so the jumps become a little bit slower, a little bit higher.
Makes sense to me.
Yes.
While we're talking about the moon, I have a moon-themed donation to read.
Go for it.
We have $5 from Scala Kitty, who says, FF4FE meme donations. Rex and Smapedy, can you tell us where there's always value?
Well, I think we're in a location that is pretty value heavy. We are in Cave Bahamut over on Bahamut screen appropriately, and this is the source for all value that you need, as the wonderful Scala Kitty had mentioned.
Yeah, that's a meme dating back to, I believe, the very first Highway to the Zima Zone. Cape Bahamut is a little bit out of the way from all of the other checks on the moon. You have to walk through a short dungeon to get to the boss. It's a single isolated check. But the meme sort of became, people kept checking it and it kept paying off. So the old adage, there's always value in Cape Bahamut, has become sort of a community staple since then. And definitely some value in there just checking the chests here for Bahamut. White shirt, crystal ring, among other things. Those are some great endgame gear options.
It's also it makes a lot of sense that he would go there in this particular flag set. There's no trapped chests. All the treasure chests in Cave Bahamut are safe to open. You can open them up and you're going to just get what you got. In the lunar subterranean, there's a ton of trapped chests. So any dark matter hunting that you want to do there is going to be very risky, and it's not going to end well for a lot of the runners.
Yeah, Moon already paying off. Moon definitely transfixing you today. And the
Yes.
Hummingway selling cabins, always a great item to find. Full cure on your entire team whenever you're at a save point. Very, very useful if you're going to make an extended spelunking adventure into the lunar subterranean.
That's the moon transfixing you like a giant floating eye in space. We're seeing the fight on the Barren Throne. Now, the vanilla Beigen spot was skipped via push B to jump. However, if you want to get the key item, the character check from Barren Castle, you do need to fight the boss on the Barren Throne, and we're seeing Pale Dim in that spot. Of the lunar bosses, this is usually one in most spots that is not as feared as some of the other potential scary lunar bosses.
Yeah, right you are. He's only capable of punching. Granted, depending on the attack value of whatever spot he's in, those punches can hit very hard. But that's pretty much it. Very simple AI script, so not too much that you have to worry about. The biggest annoyance of Pale Dim is that any physical attack is going to be countered with that slow spell. Now, just because of the wonkiness of how agility works in this game, the slow spell doesn't really do too much. It's not a problem in and of itself. It's just annoying because the animation of it takes long, and it's going to be happening every time you plink him. But he is down. We're going to get the extended crumble here. We're going to see what character has been waiting in Barren Castle, and then we're going to check the pot and see what key item is here as well.
Yeah, normally this is the cutscene that ends with you getting access to the airship in the vanilla version, and since we're given the airship right at the start of the game, that's not really a good prize for completing this. So we have kind of altered the cutscene as far as Free Enterprise is concerned, and we check one of the pots in Barren Castle, and there is a potential key item there. And it looks like Gambit is deciding if he wants to keep this edge, and he decides to ditch that Fusia.
Yeah, like you said, Fusoya not necessarily as valued here when you're going to be avoiding the majority of boss fights. Would rather keep Tella and his already accessible deep spell list to take Edge. Edge is an incredibly strong character. Not only does he come with an initial level of 30, so he's very powerful right from the get-go, he's just generally strong as a character. He can equip some very, very strong katanas and do some great damage. He's ridiculously fast, so his turns are going to come around very, very frequently. He also has that wonderful dart command. Allows him to throw a weapon with 100% accuracy, ignores all evasion, so some bosses that have particularly nasty evasion, like Volvalis, won't be an issue with Edge. And he can throw that spoon that was found for a quick solid 9,999 damage whenever he would like. A lot of people like to save that for Zeromus to sort of burst down his HP even faster. But can be very useful against any kind of tricky boss he comes across that doesn't want to have to deal with. Finding that pan, which is my favorite key item in the game, that opens so much for him right now.
Certainly does. And that decision to ditch Fusia, I think he was considering it for a while. He was kind of wavering between, like, it seemed like he knew that he wanted the Edge in his party, but deciding, I mean, because who wouldn't want a guitarist from the band U2? But he also was considering between, like, do I get rid of Tella, who I know has worse stats overall, but how many bosses am I actually going to defeat over the course of this run? Is Fusia going to be worth it? And I would say Gambit's one of the runners in Free Enterprise who has some of the most experience with these push B to jump flags. And if he says that Tella's more important than Fusia, I'd trust Gambit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's definitely a great decision here. You want that Edge in your team. It's just a matter of, well, I can only have 5 people. Who am I going to get rid of? I think he's thinking, how much immediate value am I going to get out of these characters? And Fu kind of brings the least to the table right now. So yeah, very, very strong play by them.
One thing that it's kind of worth noting, we do have a lot of looting that's going on throughout this entire run because of the nature of the Dark Matter Hunt flags. And that's something that makes the melee characters a little bit more desirable, because they really rely on that equipment to do really end game damage. And so being able to find more and more of that stuff throughout the course of the run becomes really important. It also means that your inventory is going to be full a lot of the time. And so, like, routing in those shop checks, you oftentimes you'll see runners go from shop to shop to shop, like just want to get all your shopping done in one go. And that might not be the most efficient way to go in this, where you're going to be opening a bunch of chests, and then you can go and sell everything, and then you want to go open a bunch more chests, and then go to your next shop and sell a bunch more things. And so that decision of when to sell and when to just throw away stuff becomes important as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Just sort of build on what you were talking about there, Rex. There's generally two archetypes for characters in Final Fantasy IV. You've got your fighters and you've got your mages, and they both gain power in relatively different ways. Like you said, your fighters are going to get the most of their strength from equipment. They're very gear dependent. Mages, on the other hand, they require levels more so than equipment to get their strength, because their power is going to come from hitting these level break points where they're going to get access to powerful spells. Palom is a very, very requested or very, very desired early game character for this reason. He gets very quick access to the Quake spell, usually being called the Quake Kid as a result. And once he gets that Quake spell online, he becomes a terror in multi-target fights. Getting access to the nuke spell at around level 50 for a lot of the black mages is another major milestone you want to hit. So yeah, in these especially in push B to jump, where you're going to be avoiding a lot of boss fights and not getting a lot of experience from them, these melee characters are generally going to be favored, because it's much easier to hit their potential from these gear from finding all of this gear than it is from leveling mages up to get where they need to be to cast their spells. Now, there are characters from both archetypes that sort of buck the trend. Rydia is a little more reliant on checking items, because you want to find those high tier summons for her, which are in trap chests in this particular flag, or not trap chests, but just chests in general in this flag set. And Yang, just because of the way his damage formula works, he's often called the punch wizard, because he is more reliant on levels than gear.
And we're seeing a run to the Giant of Babel from Gambit over on his screen, and that's a really neat check. There's a lot of chests in here for dark matter hunts. He might be setting up for a grind at this point. He does have Tellet in the party. If he wants to grind, there's a grind in the Giant of Babel that's actually used in the vanilla Final Fantasy IV speedrun, where you grind on monsters called D machines, and that might be a way to get to endgame levels just in one fight. And we'll see if he decides to take that on, as the first chest he finds is the only trap chest in the Giant of Babel, and that's this last arm monster.
Yeah, should be pretty well equipped here to take on Last Arm, get whatever is in here, and then he's just got free reign to loot the rest of the giant here. Meanwhile, over on Bahamut's screen, he's been taking our first trip, I believe, into Cave Evelyn, finding a power shirt. Very, very strong piece of gear, though. There gives a massive strength boost to whoever wears it, and any melee character can wear it, so a lot of benefit there.
You might get a bit confused. You got the dwarf or the power shirt, and then walked back and picked it up again. What you're seeing is there's a quality of life feature that's been programmed into Free Enterprise, where you can use the R trigger on your SNES controller to discard any item when you pick it up, to try to mitigate some of that inventory management. Like if you get something like a silver dagger and you just don't want it at all, and it's not worth a whole lot to sell, you could just get rid of it right away by doing that R trigger. If you're still on the same screen, you could go back to that treasure chest and pick up the item again. But if you leave the screen, you can't pick it up anymore. So he was still on the same screen, realized that, hey, it's a power shirt. I actually do want that because that's really good. So he went back and picked it up, and that's what you saw there.
Yeah, well, he didn't want it because it's really good. He immediately sold it, so he just wanted the cash. But he's been finding a lot of great gear, so not too surprising that he would...
A lot of money is really good, too, so...
Yeah, we do have that quarter. One of the flags that's on right now is the quarter sell price. So items only sell for a quarter of their value. So you don't get as much from selling items. It's still a great way to generate cash, but they're not going to get as much as they would under normal circumstances for selling that high-level gear.
Speaking of cash, can I hop in with some donations here?
Oh, that's with a segue like that, absolutely.
Hey, yeah, no, we're getting this cash for Able Gamers for sure. I just want to give everybody a quick update on the overall total as well. We are now less than $300 away from the current marathon goal, which is $7,500. We are sitting pretty at $7,216 raised for Able Gamers. So incredible job, everybody. We got a $5 donation from PK4788, who sounds a little suspicious to me, with the comment, "There is no law except the ... We've got a $5 donation from Trirex67, which went towards the Epona naming bid war. And that was for the name Asalis. Hope I said that okay. And then we had $25 from Karant with the comment, "Here's some love for a great charity from part of the FE community." So thank you so much for all of those donations.
Seriously, thank you, everybody. Just the outpouring of support, just incredibly generous. So thank you, everybody, for donating to that worthy cause.
And hopefully we're going to get that goal. Like I think it would be great if we could get that goal within this run.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we got Breath of the Wild to donate for. We also have some bid wars for the next run, if we got a second. Pokemon Puzzle Challenge. We've got a Pokemon choice. Chikorita is currently winning $20 to nothing over a bunch of other very deserving Pokemon, I'm sure. And there's also a category bid war. Scroll On is currently defeating Normal $6 to $0. So if you want to donate for that next run of Pokemon Puzzle Challenge, those are some options for you.
Awesome.
It does look like Gambit is trying to set up this D-Machine grind, as we mentioned before, because he's turned on the random encounters. That's in Free Enterprise, you can choose to toggle them on or off. And he may have found the fight here because he's not running away. So this is the formation that we're looking for, a Searcher and 2 Beamers. Once the Beamers are gone, if you do any damage to the Searcher, it's going to, as long as it doesn't kill the Searcher, it will summon a monster. And what we're hoping for is a D-Machine to come. If he's in the wrong fight, it would be a Horseman, but we're hoping for that D-Machine for Gambit's sake.
Yeah, the D-Machine is notable in not only in that it has rather high experience value when defeated, but every time you hit that Searcher, it's going to summon a new D-Machine. So what Gambit can do here is just remain in this fight for a long period of time, just killing D-Machines over and over, and he can get extra value from those D-Machines with a little glitch known as the life glitch. It's a glitch that has existed in the vanilla game and can be preserved through flags for Free Enterprise as well. Essentially, the way this game works is whenever a character or enemy is brought back from the dead, the HP that it has when it's brought back is based on its vitality stat. Well, from a little bit of a design oversight, every monster in the game has 0 vitality. So that means whenever you use a life potion or the life spell on an enemy that's been defeated to bring it back from the dead, it comes back with 0 HP and immediately dies again. So you get double the XP for it. This has its limitations. You can only target an enemy when it's actually alive on the board. So you essentially have to either queue up a life spell in advance or hit it when use the life spell when the enemy is fading out after it's been defeated. But every time you do that, you can essentially get twice as much experience from an enemy, and using it on those D-Machines can rack up experience very quickly. Fortunately for Gambit, he was in the wrong fight. We got the Horseman instead, so he's going to keep looking here.
Yeah, that you might think that, it's a Horseman. It's still a monster that's going to be summoned over and over from the Searcher. Why don't we go ahead and use that? Now, there's a couple of really important reasons, because on first glance, the D-Machine is way more dangerous than the Horseman enemy, but that's not really the case now, is it? Basically, this fight here, the Beamers themselves and the D-Machine, the only attacks that they really use in their natural state are going to be percentage-based attacks. so that they'll do a percentage of the character's actual hit points. So even though we've got relatively low HP for this fight, it's actually a pretty safe fight as long as everything goes according to plan. Now, with that horseman fight, it does normal punches, and that is not percent based. So the horseman becomes way more dangerous than the D machine ever was.
Yeah, and one of the other attractive things about the D Machine is that it is vulnerable to that very, very powerful weak spell. Weak, if you're familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, kind of like the harm spell there, in that it brings an enemy down to single-digit HP, which means you can easily mop it up with any kind of physical attack afterwards to just do a 1-2 punch to take the monster out. That means that you can essentially start this grind at any level. Your level is not important to determining whether you can defeat the D Machine or not. All you need is access to that weak spell, and it's one of the reasons that Tella can be a very, very useful party member, because he does learn that weak spell after you go through Mount Ordeals.
Yeah, you will need a way to restore his MP because the weak spell costs a lot of MP, so having a stack of ethers is definitely desirable for this fight. Meanwhile, Bahamut has gone to the underworld and is starting this pass chain, has gone down to the Self Cave, bonked Yang on the head, and this is going to give 2 more potential key item checks in Kabul with Sheila, Yang's wife.
Yeah, another community meme. Sheila often has the goods, just because of the fact that you get 2 checks from her. It's very often in these seeds that you will find Sheila holding on to something very important to completing the seed. So yeah, that's why that pan becomes a very, very valuable key item to find. Also valuable is finding that Leviathan spell for Rydia. I know that Gambit found one in the Giant a few minutes ago. Now Bahamut's got his own copy of it. That's going to make Rydia a very, very powerful caster. Leviathan is her second best summon in the game, does massive damage to all targets on the screen, and unlike Black Magic, which gets a power reduction when you multi-target it, summons do not. They get their full power on all targets, so it makes Rydia very, very valuable in multi-target encounters.
Yeah, all you said was just right, except Bahamut does not have Rydia anymore. He decided to go with Palom for his Black Mage instead of Rydia. So slightly different party setups. Palom's going to be more reliant on Quake to do the AoE, whereas Rydia prefers the summons. But you know, I mean, what you said is all right still.
I mean, I would have Rydia, I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, I mean...
no. Ditching Rydia for Palom is a very... Palom is just going to be more reliably get to the spells you want him to, especially if you're looking towards the late game. Rydia has a very, very terrible experience curve. It takes her much more experience to get to those high levels than other party members. And you really need your Black Mages to have access to that nuke spell, otherwise known as Flare in the more modern translations of Final Fantasy, because that's really the spell that's going to carry Black Mages into the end game, and Rydia just takes way longer to get access to that spell than any of the other Black Mages.
That, and I think it's also determined based on what you've gotten at the time. Like if you had found that Leviathan summon before you ditched Rydia and found in favor of Palom, then it might be like, you know, I don't need to worry about when Palom's going to actually learn Quake. I've already got Leviathan in my party. So that's the sort of consideration that you also make, especially in the early part of the game. In the late part of the game, if you've got access to like this D Machine grind that we're seeing on Gambit's side, then it doesn't really matter if you take Rydia or Palom, because you're just going to grind until you get them anyways, and it might just mean 1 or 2 more D Machines. And you see a really weird jump over there on Bahamut's screen is walking on air, right?
I mean, are you that surprised to find out that a magical place like the Fame Arch has invisible ceilings?
I guess not. I mean, no, that seems pretty cool. I've been in glass bottom boats, but I haven't been in a glass bottom tower.
They have to have that so they can stare up at the underworld whenever they want.
Stare up at the underworld. Now that sounds really weird.
Don't think about it too hard.
Do we have time for a quick donation?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, we got a $10 donation from GB Scala that says, "Good luck, Bahamut X. And I also I just want to call out and shout out all of the FF4 Free Enterprise community members who are coming and filing in into chat here to watch the marathon. It's so awesome to see all of you here. We've got a little bit of a break today from our league, and I imagine some of you might be like, what is going on with this whole jumping thing? Because we've been living League for like the last month or so, but yeah, we're doing a marathon run today. It's super chill, and it's really nice to see all of you here today.
Yeah, this is a really fun flag set, and if you're interested in trying it, highly recommend rolling up a seed of your own with these flags, because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, or if you're just if you're watching the marathon and this is your first exposure to Free Enterprise, by all means, check out the site. There are a lot of very beginner-friendly flag sets that are recommended to sort of learn how the game works, and you can jump into the Discord for any kind of advice. We love helping people out. It's a very welcoming, very friendly community. So, yeah, definitely give it a try. We'd love to teach you the game. I think Bahamut's having way too much fun with that jumping right now.
I think both of our runners are having a lot of fun with it. And I know that Gambit likes to jump around all sorts of weird places wherever possible. We see a couple of bosses here in the Fame Arch now. They do gate potential key items. We're at pretty low levels still, all things considered, considering all of the bosses that we've skipped so far. Understandable that even bosses like Dark Elf and Dr. Luge, which aren't necessarily really difficult bosses in those places, but they're still going to make a runner pause before trying to do them at these levels.
Yeah, just we were talking about how bosses inherit the stats of their locations, and those locations are no joke when it comes to their stats. Both locations are incredibly fast. They have a very high HP pool, and just can be really, really terrifying. A lot of runners just really do not like having to fight those Fame Arch boss spots. And that was an interesting dwarf there, Rex. Why don't you explain what was going on there?
I mean, you've got to have scouts for your sports, don't you? We've got a dwarf. This dwarf is my favorite NPC in the vanilla game. It's in this last real town of the game. It's a dwarf in a treasure room, and he says, "I am a farmer," and it doesn't really contribute anything to the game or the lore or anything, and that always struck me as really funny. And so we decided in Free Enterprise to just randomize whatever job that dwarf has. Every seed he's got a different job. Professional sports scout this time around. So yeah, we got all things. This is, if I'm going to toot my own horn just a little bit here, I've contributed a couple of suggestions that have made it into the game that I love, and we're seeing a couple of them really on display here as that dwarf check was made, and the whole idea of the dark matter hunt was another thing that I suggested. So I'm just so glad that people like these crazy things that I come up with. So that's it. Horn tooted. I'm done.
Important question in chat. What sport do you think he's scouting for? What sport do you think the dwarves specialize in?
Probably lava ball.
I'd love to learn the intricacies of lava ball one day.
Yeah, it's a very dangerous sport, I must say. So that's
I'd expect nothing less from the dwarf. And we see Bahamut heading over to Fabul here, going to check in with Sheila. And you get, like mentioned earlier, you get 2 key item checks with Sheila. You get 1 for going down and visiting Yang, and you get another for hitting Yang with a pan and then turning it in. So there's always that sort of consideration you have to make for how early you want to go check in with Sheila. If you can't find the pan, do you just go with just finding Yang down there, or do you wait till you have the pan, go and try to make as many checks as possible in Fabul at once? It's one of those interesting routing decisions runners have to make.
Yeah, that's a good point, and probably why you mentioned how much you liked the pan when we found it earlier in the seed as well. Because if you find the pan early, you don't need to think about all of that. You could just, as soon as you get underground, start that sequence and save a lot of time by not having to walk down the Silk Cave multiple times.
Yeah, and if there is one thing I love doing more than anything else, it is not thinking.
So now we're getting those Sheila checks. The package, which leads to a character when you burn down the Village of Mist, and the magma key, which is it's a key item. We've got underground access already. That's basically the short way to the underground, but since we're already there, it's kind of a nothing item. It is added towards the 10 key items for that double experience, which is not irrelevant as we see this D Machine grind is taking quite a while for Gambit to get through because he knows that he's got to do the full grind and not just the double experience grind at the 10 key item level.
Yeah, and I know we talked about Sheila having the goods, but just no goods available today. Really not much gathered there other than, inflating that key item total, which is going to be nice in the long run. You really do like that experience bonus, but I'm sure Bahamut was hoping for something that kind of blew this seed open a little bit more for him. Volvalis can be a very nasty fight. When she is in that tornado form, she gets a massive increase to her evasion, both magical and physical. So it can be incredibly difficult to damage her. There are two ways to get around it. You can use an ability that has increased accuracy, such as Rose's aim command or Edge's dart ability, which has 100% accuracy in order to get through it. You can also use Kane's jump ability, just like in the vanilla game. She's hard coded to drop her tornado form whenever Kane jumps on her, and then you'll be able to hit her without issue from that point forward. In this low-level spot here, it shouldn't be too much of a problem for Bahamut, but if she shows up in gaining a particularly nasty spot, she can be a real terror.
And Gambit is done with the D Machine grind and got all the levels he needed. He got Nuke on Rydia, he got Light on Rosa, and those are kind of the key things if he wants to utilize those really powerful magics throughout the course of the game. So really well done there. He's at end game levels now. Now the question is, when it comes to Bahamut grinding, if he's waiting until the 10 key items, his grind might go faster. Is there going to be enough bosses that need to be done on Gambit screen to make it so that, like, the bosses are going to be a lot easier for him because he's got that much more levels? So is the time saved on those bosses going to be worth it? That's kind of the position that we're in right now.
Ooh, and Bahamut just not being able to find a way to get through Volvalis there actually has to take a reset. And last time he saved was back in the Fame Arch, so losing quite a bit of progress there, unfortunately.
That's one of those places where a very rude boss in a place that's normally considered a relatively easy spot, just by the fact of his party makeup, it kind of throws a wrench in the situation. He wasn't expecting that to be as difficult a fight as it ended up being.
Now, there was an out for Bahamut there. It's a little bit of a more obscure feature of the push B to jump flag set. The more interesting bit of push B to jump is that if you push B, you jump on the overworld. But as a little Easter egg as well, that works in battle too. If you push B while you're in battle, you do Kane's jump command with any character. So that would be a way to get through Volvalis there, is to just have your characters jump and knock her out of the tornado form as if you had Kane, even if you don't.
Yeah, that is something that, even with people who are prepared, who have been practicing this particular flag set for this event, it's something to overlook because you just normally think, if I'm going to break her out of tornado form, I need Kane. But what you really need is jump.
And there really is nothing quite as fun as watching your entire party take off to the sky after spamming B. I will tell you, it's one of the more fun things in this flag set.
Yeah, seeing characters like Rydia and Palo just jump to the air and everything, or Old Man Tella, it's great.
And I believe Gambit has decided that he's ready to go into the underworld now as well. is going through Eblin Cave and should be making his way into the realm of the dwarves here relatively shortly. Bahamut covering some lost ground now, getting back out of the underworld. Probably going to head back over to Fabul and carry on from where he left off.
And we'll see if he decides to take on that Alvalus again, or if he wants to just do the Sheila checks. He probably still wants those key items at some point, but it'll be interesting to see if he decides to like what he decides to do next. If he wants to go back to Alvalus, or if he wants to try some other locations. If he wants to go to the moon, or maybe he wants to do a D machine grind. Who knows?
Looks like he is picking up the hovercraft. Good, probably going to be cashing in that rat tail, which Gambit did earlier. I don't believe Bahamut has yet, so he's going to go ahead and get that pass that's available in there. Not a progression item, but definitely something he's going to like to see.
Yeah, I think right now, finding that twin harp, finding that pink tail, these are going to be the really important things. As we see the dark matter hunts, this is kind of the interesting part of the dark matter hunt objective in itself. When you're into the mid-20s for numbers, that means you've already checked a lot of treasure chests at this point. And so getting those last few dark matters can sometimes be very challenging, just because it is like you're running low of the high density checks for the dark matters, and that's that means that you have to go to these maybe places where there's like 3 chests, where there's 2 chests, or maybe even 1 chest, like Chocobo Forest and everything like that, to try to find those last 2 or 3 dark matters in order to complete that objective. And so that's I think that's always the most tense part when it comes to these dark matter hunts.
Yeah, absolutely. To put things into sort of numerical context here, there are just shy of 300 chests available in Final Fantasy IV. Like we mentioned earlier, 45 of those chests are going to have dark matter. So we're looking at just a little bit more than 10% of these chests having dark matters. So yeah, once you've sort of exhausted those high density areas, yeah, you're going to have to be looking for these little onesie twosies. There are some high density areas remaining, but they are full of some very nasty trap chests. Now, that's going to be less of a problem right now for Gambit than it is for Bahamut, because Gambit has done his grind already. He has a very powerful team that can do that. But even if your team is powerful, some of these chests can have some encounters that take a long time. Sylph Cave is very notorious for this. It has a lot of chests available, but some encounters that are just really, really annoying to have to fight. You've got Malboros that can hit you with bad breath and just affect you with all sorts of nasty statuses. You have these spirits that are very quick and will cast Fire 2, which might not hit for a while, but it's going to be 6 of them casting it in succession, so you're going to be sitting through a lot of animations. You can lose a lot of time trying to find dark matters in there.
Not to mention the damage floors means that it's like just surviving fights that you might be otherwise prepared for become a lot more difficult if you're not healing up before every chest that you open.
Yeah. Now, it's not a flag we have activated right now, but there is a flag you can turn on that also makes trap chests a valid place to hide key items. And that can make Sylph Cave an incredibly irritating place to have to go, because you know that there might be some key items hidden in there. I know it's a flag that we usually turn on for our 2v2 races where you're teamed up with a partner, and it's always whoever draws the small straw typically has to make the Sylph Cave checks.
Yeah, last year's run at Midwest Speed Fest was a 2-person cooperative run, and had that flag set for that reason. Unfortunately, the damage tiles, even though it wasn't in Sylph Cave at the time, did rear their ugly head for Bahamut as he takes a wipe to the Flame Dog, because all of his party was at 1 HP, and so that fire attack, even though now that he's coming back and he's at full HP, should be fine. It's just too... it was too much, and took an unfortunate wipe, but is back in, got the revenge against the Flame Dog with that Boreas item.
Yeah, and he's going to be well rewarded with that Avenger Sword. Cecil is definitely going to appreciate that, and he'll be able to move on and finish out Zot here. Whereas Gambit has jumped his way into the underworld, so our runners kind of covering each other's tracks here at this point.
Can I catch up on a couple announcements really quick while they are covering each other's tracks? Awesome. Well, I just wanted to remind everybody of a couple bid wars and donation incentives we have going on. We've got a couple of bid wars for our next run, Pokemon Puzzle Challenge that you can check out. We also have a couple more randomizers coming up later today. We've got Diddy Kong Racing randomizer, and there is a bid war for the final race character for that. There's also going to be, I believe, a Zelda 3 crowd control randomizer run later today as well, so that's going to be pretty fun. And then we have a couple pretty big incentives still that we would like to meet. The biggest of those is unlocking our final bonus game of the marathon, and that is going to be The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. We need another $660 for that, and I really want to motivate everybody to get donations in for that because we want to get that met. We want maximum marathon for everybody that is working so hard this weekend, and for Able Gamers. And then just really quickly about Able Gamers. Able Gamers' mission is to create opportunities that enable play in order to combat social isolation, foster inclusive communities, and improve the quality of life for people with disabilities. They accomplish this by helping make games more accessible with assistance from their experts and cutting-edge technology. Able Gamers is only able to help when generous people like you give donations, large or small, which enables us to keep giving controllers to people in need. 94% of every dollar donated to Able Gamers goes directly towards helping support gamers with disabilities, which is one of the best ratios in the world, according to Charity Navigator. To donate, go to speedrun.com/MWSF2020/donate, or just type !donate in chat.
Thank you, Blaze. And while we were going over that, it looks like not only has Bahamut completed the Tower of Zot, but Gambit has gone into the lower portion of the Tower of Babel and fought the boss at the top, was the Magus Sisters. After that grind, they were no problem for him, and got rewarded with the Earth Crystal. So that's actually, like, normally in Free Enterprise with this T Wildish flag, the access to the Troya Treasury is like just a really boon for really great equipment. However, in this particular flag set, that's just another room with a lot of treasure chests. And getting to that 30 dark matter hunt, you just want to find as much dark matter as possible in that treasury as possible right now.
Yeah, the Troya Treasury is Free Enterprise's very own version of the Hype Cave. Just a lot of chests on the T Wildish. Every single one of those chests has a 10% chance to roll the highest tier equipment available. So it is always fun to go in and see what's available. But yeah, even more is on the line with this being with this being Dark Matter Hunt, because that's just so many more chests that can have those dark matters, and both runners are inching closer to that goal of 30. So that's a big pickup for Gambit there.
Yeah, without a doubt. It looks like we are going to get a job door check from Gambit 2. Both runners have seed validated, so very good there.
Yeah, you would hate to have a runner get all the way through the seed and then we have to disqualify them because they did not check the job board.
I mean, they wouldn't be officially disqualified, but I would disqualify.
And even though we have the sale prices at 1/4 their actual total, you can still see how much money we're still racking up just because of how many high tier items we've gotten. Of course, also got some money from that D Machine grind there, but yeah, Gambit's not going to be hurting for cash the rest of the seed.
Yeah, the combination of T Wildish and the Dark Matter Hunt just means you're going to have a lot. Like the economy would be just completely busted if you didn't have that quarter sell price. Or you could there's another option if you want to make all shop items free. Just forget about money. Don't worry about it. That's the other option, right?
Yeah, then just put cabins in all the shops. There you go.
There we go.
You did see something Gambit did that we mentioned earlier about that back row glitch. He just very quickly equipped a boomerang on Edge, and then took it off, like Rex mentioned earlier. That flips the flag on that says, "Hey, this character has a back row weapon equipped." But as soon as you take it off, the game never says, "Oh, he took the back row weapon on." The game still thinks he's got a back row weapon. So not only can Edge do full damage from the back row, but that means he can hit targets in the back row of the enemy formations, because enemy formations do have rows as well. He'll be able to hit them for full damage, and that can be very, very useful against certain boss fights, like the CPU, where the main target that you want to be hitting is in the back row, and you normally are going to be doing half damage to it. Not a problem now. We see both runners kind of synced up here, both going into the sealed cave. This is a nice spot to be looking for dark matters because none of these chests are trapped. However, this is a very long dungeon, and unlike most dungeons, you cannot use the exit spell to escape here. It's a failsafe put into the game by the programmers to make sure you don't skip cutscenes. So if our runners go deep in here, they're going to have to just use the warp spell to escape floor by floor, which is a much more significant time investment than just being able to leave willy-nilly.
And this is one of the things where there's a lot of little kind of fake out rooms that don't have treasure in them, and it looks like Gambit just is going with all of them. Didn't like bother memorizing them, but it looks like Bahamut might have studied that because he was skipping a couple of the rooms that Gambit had found nothing in. So might be a little bit more prepared here. If we do fight the boss, though, I think Gambit.
Yeah, anybody familiar with vanilla Final Fantasy IV will probably fear this cave here. All of these doors are normally encounters with the nasty trapdoor fight. Free Enterprise, though, we can disable encounters, so you don't have to run into them. You just walk through it like it's a normal door. However, you can turn encounters on here and actually fight these trapdoors if you so desire. Depending on what's available to you in a given seed, it can be a useful option for getting your grind in if no other options are available to you. It's definitely not the preferred grind option if you can avoid it, but the option is there.
No, without a doubt. There have been times where I've made the desperation door grind without a doubt, and just try to get through it as quickly as possible, and then also remember to turn encounters off again before walking away because you don't want to fight the random encounters here. It's just not fun.
Yeah, not fun is an understatement. This is a really nasty place. And yes, it looks like Gambit going all the way to the bottom is going to check the key item out here. And hopefully we'll be able to jump over the boss as he leaves. Oh, there's the twin harp. That is a big pickup for Gambit here. That is required for one of his objectives.
Yeah, that's going to be good, and that's actually going to be even better, I think, for Bahamut, because that's basically what he needs to do. I mean, along with finding the well, he looks like he needs what 4 more dark matters at this point to be in go mode. So yeah, I mean it's really good for Gambit who needs all of them, but for Bahamut it's even I think maybe even more important.
Yeah, it looks like we're having a little bit of emulator issue over on Bahamut's screen. We've paused the race here. Both runners have paused their timers here, and Gambit is just hanging out until Bahamut gets back in here. Just a little casual demonstration here, so just showing some sportsmanship and waiting for Bahamut to get his stuff back up. But it looks like he's loaded his save. And we'll see if Bahamut is good to go here.
Can I hop in with a quick announcement while they're getting restarted here?
Please do.
I just want to remind everybody that you are watching Midwest Speedfest. Midwest Speedfest is a Minnesota-based organization that has been hosting speedrun marathons since 2015. In the summer and winter, we partner with 2DCon and VGMCon, respectively, to help raise money for their chosen charities and bring even more entertainment to their conventions. In the spring and fall, we host online events also in support of charity. So far, we've raised over $20,000 for various charities, and we hope to see that number continue to grow exponentially with your support. We are definitely seeing it grow exponentially this entire weekend, by the way. We have already set a new PB for a Midwest Speedfest marathon. We're currently sitting at $7,226 raised for Able Gamers, and we do have a goal that we would like to meet of $7,500 raised by the end of the day today. Today is the last day of the marathon.
Yeah, definitely do that. Get your donations in, everybody. It's a fantastic charity, and the support has just been enormous this entire marathon. So big thank you to everybody who's donated. But yeah, it looks like the race is back underway. Bahamut is going to have to re-go through what he's done of the Luca Cave, but as Rex pointed out, he is very knowledgeable about which of those doors have things, and he's already remembering which chests were worth opening. He's already skipping the ones that aren't going to be of too much value to him, and should be able to get through here relatively easily. Bit of a problem here on Gambit's screen. He found the Warriors chest, which is a nasty encounter with the 5 Warriors. What makes it even worse is all the damage tiles leading up to it, which means you're going to be at very low health when you come in. Using that Grim Ore item to get a random summon. It's Titan. Does it do enough damage? It does not, and that is going to be a reset for Gambit.
These damage tiles really can really mess up your plans if you get the encounter at the wrong time.
Yeah, it's just one of the dangerous things about making checks in the underworld are just the numerous damage tiles in most of the dungeons down here. If you're not prepared for them, running into an encounter afterwards can just really spell disaster for you. So something you got to be very careful about, very knowledgeable about. The good thing here for Gambit is he knows exactly which chest to avoid now, so he can just sort of open all the other chests at his leisure, find the dark matters that he needs, and move on to the Feymarch proper.
And now we're back to the point where Bahamut picks up that twin harp and now is ready to go, and we'll hopefully time this jump right. And there we go. Avoids the boss at the bottom of the sealed cave, and that's always a good thing. And now can go, and he's got to find, I think 4 more dark matters, it looks like. And then he'll be on his way to complete the music. Now, he's already gone there, so Cave Magnus is not going to be a source for treasure chest. There is the Chocobo Forest that I don't think he looted the first time around, or at least I don't remember it. That has some treasure chests in it. There's the back Victoria Town has some treasure chests. There's a couple places that have a few left, and I don't remember if anyone's looted Dwarf Castle yet either.
To my knowledge, I don't believe Dwarf Castle has even been touched. We haven't seen runners even go into Dwarf Castle unless I missed it. So yeah, that is a wealth of chest checks as well that is available to our runners. So that's still on the table as probably the last bastion of really dense item checks without having to deal with trap chests.
Well,
Can I
of course,
hop in with a big announcement here?
yes.
We just got an anonymous $250 donation. It says, "Good luck on your goal, signed, games done quick." So we are just a quick update. We're $24 away from that $7,500 goal. So go. I don't have to tell y'all what to do. Just go do the thing.
That's incredible. Huge shout outs there for the support. Thank you very much.
Thank you, GDQ. And now we are seeing that Dwarf Castle being entered by Bahamut. So we're trying to find those dark matters. this is what we've got left to us. Now, of course, Gambit does have that Earth Crystal in hand, and so does have that treasury in his back pocket that we don't see for Bahamut at this point. So that could be the difference in the looting. But this Dwarf Castle could pay off big. So far, no dark matters.
Yeah, and we are seeing over on Gambit's screen that he is actually going to be taking on those nasty Feymarch encounters that Bahamut kind of faded. Of course, Gambit has done his grind at this point. He is at the levels that he would need to be able to reliably take on these fights. It doesn't make them any less threatening. Dark Elf is an interesting fight in that once you get past its initial form, it gets substantially easier. Once Dark Elf has lost half of his HP, he transforms. He's doing it right now into his dragon form. But that dragon form, well, it doesn't have the boss bit set. So unlike most bosses that have that boss bit, which prevents things like instant death or the weak spell or status effects, the Dark Dragon doesn't. So you can very easily cheese him with a weak by stopping him with an Hourglass, the stop spell, or you can just do what Cecil's doing right here and hit him for quad 9s with holy damage. So very easily mopping that fight up, and he is rewarded with the ribbon.
Yeah, Gambit probably doing those because he still needs to find that pink tail. Not going to be something that Bahamut needs to find. He did find one dark matter in the Dwarf Castle, and so we're really close there. 3 more dark matters needed over on Bahamut's side.
Now going into the Dr. Luge fight, not a terribly threatening fight. One of the nice things about this is all of the HP of this spot is going to be spread amongst 3 different targets, both Dr. Lugai and Balnab here in the first part, and the follow-up fight against Dr. Lugai in his transformed state. So it's not going to be as much of a slog as it might be with some other bosses that inherit Leviathan's natural HP. So he shouldn't have too much trouble with this fight here.
I believe the HP is also split with the Balnab Z fight as well, which is not often seen, but is another potential enemy in this fight. The scary thing is going to be the punches that Balnab does, but as long as we can subdue this fight before that happens too often, I don't think Gambit's going to have too much of a problem here.
And down goes Dr. Luggage himself. Just his little Frankenstein friend remaining, and he goes down as well. We are going to go into phase 2 of this fight.
The real fight. I like that both of these bosses in the Feymarch have really fun, like dialogue in it. The change of the Dark Elf is.
This is
one of the most memorable lines.
The Feymarch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it turns out he was a spooky, scary skeleton robot the entire time. Spooky, spelly skeleton robots, very weak to the nuke spell, as are most things in this game.
Most things are weak to the nuke spell.
Yeah, we mean that very literally. One of the reasons the nuke spell is so powerful is that it actually strips a fraction of the enemy's magic defense when you use it. So even if you are in spots such as the Dark Elf spot, which normally has very high magic defense, you can still do damage with nuke just because it's going to be reducing magic defense by that portion. There's that pink tail that Gambit absolutely needs. That's huge for him. Not only is he one step closer to finishing this seed, he is going to have his hands on the all-powerful adamant armor.
That's a very huge find. It still is down to the dark matter, however, as Bahamut is 1 dark matter closer to achieving the goal than Gambit is. It looks like a return trip to Mount Ordeals here. I think this may be a search for the D-Mist.
Well, that would be interesting because the free key, we had the free key item from in bed, so the D-Mist wouldn't give you anything. So, yeah, kind of curious what Bahamut's strategy.
Did he keep Fusia? Is he going to try to power up Fusia? Yeah.
That's it, yes. And this is a great source of boss fight.
I think that's
here.
it. 2 free bosses, or 2 easier bosses. Yeah.
Oh, and we're offered a treat over on Gambit screen. Cafe Howdy.
Cafe Howdy, the best restaurant in the Dwarven Castle.
Ain't no
This
dance
is-
like a dwarven dance, because a dwarven dance has 4 sprites.
This is all that you could do in Cafe Howdy. This is it.
Limbo. If you ever get the chance in a non-race situation to talk to the dwarves in Dwarf Castle, you may be familiar with the traditional dwarven greeting of Lolly Ho, but every dwarf in Dwarf Castle has their own spin on Lolly Ho in some sort of rhyming fashion. So give it a try sometime.
I'll second that, but I'll go one further and say, give yourself a treat sometime and just talk to every NPC at least once. It's worth it.
Yeah, not only do a lot of the NPCs, especially in Baron, have a lot of useful information about how free enterprise works and give you some advice on how to play it, a lot of NPCs just have some really funny and great dialogue in general. It's all been rewritten, so yeah, give yourself some time to explore.
Now, we saw a reset over on Bahamut's screen because he saw the second fight in the up on Mount Ordeals, and it was the gauntlet fight, the alternate gauntlet fight, which is a fight where it just pulls in like 5 random encounters from the area that you're in. So these would be random encounters from the map.
Yeah, under normal circumstances, that's the fight that you normally fight in Fabul during the story, where you have to fight Baron's soldiers as they come in, and Baron's monsters protect Fabul there. But the alt gauntlet has become a very popular flag, where instead of pulling those specific encounters up, it draws from the encounter table of the local area, lets us see some monsters we don't normally see in Free Enterprise. And help me remember, who was it that suggested that idea, Rex?
I think his name started with an R and ended with a double X. So yeah, that was another Rex specialty. And another one that that was one that when I suggested it, I didn't know if it would even be possible for them to do. And so that the fact that it's been in there and it's people love to see it is great. Now, one person who didn't love to see it was Bahamut, because if you're just going in to try to power up food really fast, you don't want to.
Yeah, absolutely no questioning why he wanted to reset out of that. Having to deal with 5 back attacks in a row is just a huge slog, since during a back attack, all of your character's ATB bars start out empty. You have to wait through all of your enemy attacks before your characters can even move. That is just a huge waste of time, just for a single boss power-up. So yeah, he's going to look elsewhere for those bosses to get Fu up to speed.
Going into the Watery Pass, which we did not see Gambit, or we did see Gambit do earlier, but I don't remember which one. He did get one more Dark Matter. I think that's number 28 for him. 28 also for, I think that's actually 29 as he opened the inventory. He might be a little bit late on his tracking because nerves are probably up there. And 28 for Gambit. We are really close to getting this Dark Matter hunt complete.
Yeah, this is it has become a very, very close race. This is really all coming down to the Dark Matters, which you really like to see. Dark Matter hunts can be very, very exciting because of situations like this. So, yeah, coming down to the wire, it's really going to be a test of our runners, really racking their brains for spots they haven't found, for where can I go and maybe just pick up these last couple pieces I need without having to go into these dangerous trap chests that are going to waste a lot of time. So yeah, I really like to see it coming down to the wire like this. Gambit picking up in his adamant armor, like we said, just a phenomenal piece of kit there, and that's going to make his Zeromus fight very, very easy as a result.
Can I hop in with a big announcement?
Please do.
All right, everybody. It's happened. We have met the goal for Midwest Speed Fest, $7,500 out of $7,500. We got there with 2 donations, oddly enough. We had a $23 donation from Metroid MST with the comment, "I'm not good at math." and then $1 from Eye of Newt, who has been working so unbelievably hard for many weeks, I'm sure now, and then all throughout this weekend as well, with a $1 donation to get us to that 7,500, going towards the file name for Twilight Princess as P.Besto. So congrats, everybody. We still got a long way to go. We need about another $400 for Breath of the Wild. We still got some bid wars. We got some other stuff going on. So we are not done by any means, but congratulations on hitting that milestone, everybody here involved with Midwest Speed Fest.
Yeah, GG to Midwest Speed Fest as a whole for reaching that goal. That is really awesome to hear.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you so much to everybody for your support. Just the outpouring there that's amazing. That's such an incredible total.
And through this Troya check that Gambit has just made, he has hit the magic number of 30 dark matters, and it looks like he's gonna not hesitate to head over to Troya to Agart to turn that in. He might be a little ahead of himself. He was right at the place where he needed to go to complete the Twin Harp task, but gonna go ahead and get those dark matters out of the inventory first, it looks like.
Yeah, and we didn't get a chance to play Rate That Armory, but not a particularly fantastic Troya Armory or Troya Vault. But it did have one dark matter in it. There was another dark matter in one of the adjacent rooms. So just because it made us hit that total there, I'm inclined to give it a 10 out of 10.
Now, because the two runners are playing the exact same seed, he was awarded the crystal, so he could go to Zeramus and defeat Zeramus right now. Because of the incentives, he does still need to complete that Twin Harp though before he does that, and that was just for our fun and for your fun, and the incentive that was part of this whole run itself.
And Bahamut is cleaning up some of these very easy early encounters in order to power that Fusoya up, but keep your eyes on Gambit's screen now, because one of the most exciting parts of Free Enterprise is coming, and one of the donation incentives that you all donated for to hit that fantastic $7,500 goal, the music check.
Yeah, we have the incentive for Donkey Kong versus Mario Brothers, and once we get there, you're going to hear the winner.
Gambit deciding to take a very interesting path to get to Cave Magnus here. I guess he wants us to hear a little bit of Chocobo music.
Yeah, Gambit likes to have fun. I think if there's one way to describe the way that Gambit likes to play, it's to have fun. And doing this is exactly what he wants. Like, it's time to have a trip around the world in a black Chocobo. That's the world that we live in.
And he almost timed it perfectly, that it was exactly one full playthrough of the Chocobo theme. So something tells me he planned that.
He may have.
And we want to give a shout out to a special person in chat here. Calm Lamity, you can see him in chat there, has taken over the reins as the composer for these MIDI renditions of all the songs that we put in for the harp. So big shout outs to Calm Lamity for all the help in doing that.
Now, Calm Lamity, a big part of the experience that is Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise, as is we mentioned, as she did an incentive earlier, or a donation earlier. Scala Kitty does a lot of the artwork for this entire community, and without them, like, we talk about like the mechanics and everything in the game, but it's this little flavor added that's just so much fun.
The deteriorating VHS aesthetic that she created for the Highway to the Three Must Known tournament is just chef's kiss. Beautiful.
And I think we're going to be a little quiet for a while because it's time for us to rock out with DJ Spoony B's Rockin' Tunes. Oh, that was an awesome rendition of Slide from Super Mario 64. Really, really fun to hear that one.
And showing off a little bit of the wrong warping you can do with the push B to jump flag is you can actually warp right into Edward's bed cutscene there by jumping into the exit there. So a lot of fun stuff you can do. Try messing around with push B to jump sometime, and you'll be you'll enjoy all the crazy shenanigans you can get up to.
Without a doubt. And with that, that is the fourth objective. Gambit is now ready to go. And, you know, Pomit's really not far behind in that grind fight now, doing a different grind than we saw done by Gambit. He's going with the egg grind instead. This is a rare encounter in the underworld that yields a pretty decent amount of experience, and it's a pretty low HP encounter that can be resummoned over and over with siren items, and so it's a really fast way to get a bunch of experience as well.
Yeah, and since Bahamut is at that 10 key item threshold, he's getting twice as much experience from this fight as normal. So this is a fantastic option for grinding to get those last levels you need in order to fight Zeromus. Very quick, very easily accessible, very easy to handle. So very, very valid choice here for Bahamut. But we've got some excitement to see over on Gambit's screen. Gambit is heading over to Zeromus, and Rex, do you see some strange-looking flags in chat?
I do. I think this is going to come down because we've got another incentive that's going to be revealed here. There was a bid war for the Zeromus sprite because we've got to find out whose butt we're going to kick this afternoon.
Yes, we are. We do not randomize Zeromus. He is absolute. Well, before we get into that, Gambit has decided to jump over the trigger to fight Zeromus, and another fun Easter egg. There's a bunch of Lunarians back here.
Well, I mean, that's where they live. I mean, I think they should be probably sleeping, right? Yeah, showing off some of the fun things that we have. This is one of the big Easter egg rooms in the push B to jump thing. So, yeah, check this out. But without a doubt, as you're saying, we don't randomize Zeromus as far as its power, its hit points, its script that it does in battle. All of that is the same as the vanilla game, but we did need to make it so that it would be a little bit more interesting. So yeah, what he looks like changes every single time, and this is Scala Kitty's specialty. We just heard Calamity with the music, and we're going to get some more awesomeness very shortly here, and we're going to find out the winner between Nintendo 64 or PlayStation 1.
Yeah, and I do want to point out a lot of the sprites, there are over 450 of them at this point that we do use as an alternative for Zeromus are, as you said, created by Scala Kitty, while many of them are ported over from other games and adapted to fit in Final Fantasy IV. Some of them are completely original creations, and I am led to understand that today is one of those situations. Scala put a ton of work into this sprite as a reward for your donations, so enjoy the winner of the incentive here.
Here's the crystal that will transform, and we are going to see...
The next game on the agenda. Puzzle League in all of its incarnations is the best puzzle game of all time. 100%. Love to see this.
And we have Puzzlemas. And so we're seeing this. Looks like we're going to go with a hybrid strategy. A hybrid meaning that we've got Cecil doing just insane amounts of damage with that Avenger and Adamant armor. Meanwhile, we're reflecting some magic, high-power magic nukes and whites to do even more damage to Zeromus. or Puzzlemas in this case, and we should be good to go very soon.
Yeah, there are a lot of moving parts in this fight. It is an incredibly difficult fight, even if you're prepared for it. So much can go wrong here, which is why it's kind of the perfect capstone fight to any free enterprise seed. You've got Zeromus' script, where he is occasionally casting those big bangs. He'll mix it in with other spells that he'll cast as well. There are multiple phases to this fight as well. Zeromus has so much HP, they could not fit it within a single variable. So instead, halfway through this fight, he's going to refill his HP and go into a second phase. Understanding when that happens and how that happens is crucial to runners getting good times and understanding when certain attacks are going to come out. So yeah, a lot of stuff going on here that the runners need to be aware of. But with the high power you have with Cecil, with that adamant armor, that's going to mitigate a lot of the difficulty in and of itself.
Yeah, those berserk attacks are doing a lot. We've got the darted spoon and other assorted goodies from Edge to do more damage. The reflected nukes from Rydia are doing a ton of damage. And we can heal as we need to with Rosa, or we can reflect some more whites. Either one of those are a great way of doing a bunch of damage as well.
Yeah, the reason that we are reflecting those nukes off of our party members instead of just casting them directly onto Zeromus is Zeromus will counter any spell cast on it with a nasty counter of its own. We're trying to avoid that because reflected spells can't trigger counterattacks, and that can actually be used to bug out, not necessarily bug out, but to avoid certain parts of his AI script as well. That HP refill we mentioned can be skipped if you're doing purely reflect damage, and it can lead to a much quicker fight if you know what you're doing.
I think if you're doing it against Antlion,
yeah, that's true. That would definitely be bugging out. And that's the crack bang boom. GG, that is time for Gambit. He has finished fighting Puzzlemas with a time of 1:47.44. Big GG's in the chat for Gambit, completing all 4 objectives and getting Zeromus down. And we'll see if we can get in and talk to him and give him the good news of all of your fantastic donations during this run.
Yeah, really well played run altogether. Decided to take a little bit of time early to dedicate to that grind, to make sure that we could do everything that we needed to in the rest of the run without having to worry about it so much. Really paid off in the end with a very clean Zeromus fight. Just so much high damage output. Tella taking a nap on the floor. That's fine. He's an old man. He deserves a rest every now and then. And just taking down Puzzlemas without too much problem at all.
Yeah, Tella contributed plenty to this seed, so yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Rest.
While we're waiting for Gambit to join us for an interview, can I read a donation and share another quick announcement with everybody?
Please do.
Awesome. Well, we did have another $1 donation from TRS Crazy P with the comment 7.5. If you missed it, we did just cross the $7,500 threshold during this run. We do have a new stretch goal. We would like to get to 10K. It's official. If you look at the donation tracker, if you look at the goal for the marathon now, it says 10K. We need to get to 10K, everybody. Let's do it. Let's get some donation trains going. Let's get these other incentives met. We have got a bit of work to do for that last bonus game, Breath of the Wild. We need another $409 for that. We also need another $37 for the Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. Use the Iron Boots at Endgame incentive. So we can get both of those done. That's going to get us a good portion of the way to that 10K. And then we have a bunch of bid wars as well. We got some bid wars for Twilight Princess. We've got some bid wars for that next run coming up, Pokemon Puzzle League. And you just saw that awesome Zeromus sprite from Scala Kitty there, which I believe was inspired by our upcoming game, the Puzzle League. So yeah, let's get some more donations in while we finish up this run here with Bahamut X.
Thank you very much, Blaze, and I believe we are joined by the man of the hour himself, Gambit. GG, congratulations on your finish.
Thank you.
And of course, thank you so much for being the consummate showman throughout the run there. Everyone getting a huge kick out of the Foo Room, even some community members who did not know that existed.
I felt like when I got there, I just had to go shoot it off. It's just so much fun.
So yeah, one of the major deciding factors in your win here was the decision to make that early D Machine play. Kind of walk us through your thinking behind that, and what made you decide to commit to that.
As soon as I saw Bedward with the Darkness Crystal, my thought immediately went, okay, let's find Atella.
Oh, did we lose Gambit there?
I think we might have just for a moment. Let's see if we can get reconnected here. I heard a ding on his end, so I think Windows is being uncooperative at the moment.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes,
you're
we
back.
can.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, when I saw the Darkness Crystal, my thought was, let's find Atella. Let's go ahead, D-Machine. Climbs on. There's my Tella. I'm like, all right, cool. I know exactly what I'm doing and what order I'm doing it in. Went to Baron, ended up with the Edge, dropped Fu for the Edge, because I was like, I'm not going to do enough bosses to get Fu fully powered, so no reason to keep him. And just decided,
That's what we
let's
thought.
go.
Yeah. It looked like you were thinking a little bit between Fu and Tella, and it's like, we kind of figured that it was because you might think that you're just not going to fight enough bosses. And it's good to hear that we were right in that assessment of your play.
Yeah, if I'm looking at my personal tracker right, I think I only fought 7 bosses, not including Zeromus or the Fupa room, the entire seed. So
Yeah, that would sound accurate. A lot of exploring and not a lot of fighting, which I guess is par for the course for any given push B to jump seed.
oh yes, and it was just very, very, very interesting routing, just very interesting locations for everything. I got lucky not getting rabbit holed by anything too big. And then deciding to go make that Luca check for Dark Matters really, really paid off with the Twin Heart being down there.
Yeah, absolutely. That was kind of the big deciding factor then. And then the Troya Vault, not the best Troya Vault, but the fact that it had 2 Dark Matters overall there, and put you at your total, probably feeling a lot better that vault than you would have ordinarily. Okay.
Yeah, I literally give that treasury a 2 out of 10 for the 2 Dark Matters, because that was it. There was nothing there. I'm like, at least an X cal. Come on, no, nothing at all.
Yeah, pretty amazing loot altogether this seed, but no Fabled Crystal Sword, interestingly enough.
Yeah, I think I had Runax on Cecil for most of the seed, and then switched over to the Light Sword at the end. And then in Z Fight, I actually messed up. I had meant to use Rosa to Zerk Edge with her first action, and ended up casting White instead. I'm like, okay, I'll just have Edge dart everything, and ended up not even needing to do a physical attack with Edge, because between Cecil, the mages, and darting, got it done.
So I don't know if you've heard the good news yet, but we'll go ahead and let you know. During your run, we did indeed reach the $7,500 mark for donations overall for the marathon. So congratulations to both you and Bahamut for putting the show on and getting people to donate.
That is amazing, and I am so glad that we could hit that number and get some excellent donations in for Able Gamers, who is such a great cause.
And I know that you're a big fan of the push B to jump, all things considered. What is it about that particular flag that draws you to it?
I just love all the different ways you can break the game with it. I mean, you saw at the very beginning, jumping straight into Baron Castle to loot, and then just walking backwards out the waterway. There's so many different skips you can make, such as the doing top of tower of Babel while doing the hook route. That's one of my favorites. If I've got the levels, which since I did D-Machine before I went underground, I definitely did. Just hopping over that wall and doing top of tower on the way down of the hook route was just amazing. The jumps in Luca Cave to get out, jumping to skip the magnetic cutscene in Cave Magnus. There's one on the moon, which, by the way, moon was haunted this seed. One on the moon where you can go straight to the crystal altered spot instead of having to go the long way around. So just all kind of different fun skips and things you can do with the press B that make it so enjoyable.
Well, you also made it really enjoyable for us to watch you by showing off a lot of that. Did you have any final thoughts before we let you go?
Just that I feel, I mean, I'm glad I won, but at the same time I feel I got lucky just with my routing and checking things, and things just kind of fell into place. I mean, I got to pan early too, and I never even touched football at all, not even a single dip in there, which was quite funny, to be honest. So but I want to say thank you to Midwest Speed Fest for letting us put this on, letting us showcase this, Bahamut for reaching out to me and asking to put together this run. So definitely want to give him shout outs. Thank you, Rex, you and Smiggy for doing the commentary, Blaze for doing the hosting for this run, everybody involved with Midwest Speed Fest for helping put this on, raising money for an excellent charity. Appreciate every single one of you and all the viewers out there who are donating and watching and everything. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Gambit, for putting on an excellent show. It was super entertaining to watch, and congratulations on your win today.
All right, guys, I'll let you get back to the action.
Take care.
I mean, I don't want to say anything, though, because we're getting that harp encore.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I don't know about the rest of you, but this is fast becoming one of my favorite harp songs that I've heard yet.
It sounds so good on the harp.
It's got that like plate spinning music quality to it.
Exactly, yeah. All right, I think we're done with the music. You can go ahead, Blaze.
Oh, it's just, we're watching Bahamut finish up here. The donation ticker finally caught up, so it's showing everybody that we met that $7,500 goal for Able Gamers. And I know we're just everybody behind the scenes here at Midwest Speed Fest. I can tell y'all, we are just we are so excited. We are quite literally freaking out right now. We're just so happy. We have smashed our previous marathon PB by a few $1,000s here, and we still have pretty much a full 12 hours, dare I say, since a lot of people are waking up probably right about now. We got like a full day of marathon left for y'all. There's so many good runs still coming up. We appreciate y'all being here, spreading the word, and telling everybody that about our awesome event that's going on this weekend. To get everybody up to speed, just let y'all know what we're doing, because I think we're going to get another final boss fight here in just a second, so I'm going to squeeze this in first. But we here at Midwest Speed Fest are raising money in support of Able Gamers. Able Gamers gives people with disabilities custom gaming controllers and special assistive technology like devices that let you play with your eyes so they can have fun with their friends and family. They're also a registered 501c nonprofit, so if you live in the United States, your donations are tax deductible. Additionally, your employer may match your donation. To donate, go to speedrun.com/MWSF2020/donate, or type the command !donate in chat. You can also apply your donation to various bid wars and incentives. We do still have bid wars and incentives going on for the rest of the day. Pretty much every run for the rest of the day today has bid wars and incentives attached to it. So you can check those out there. And to learn more about Able Gamers, please go visit www.ablegamers.org.
Thank you, Blaze. I'll also say this is my second year in a row doing something for Midwest Speed Fest, and it's just been such a great professional event. All things considered, I just love being a part of this and would love to continue supporting it down the line too. So thank you to Midwest Speed Fest for putting on such an awesome event, and being a part of it just is gravy on top.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself.
And we are now ready to dive into the final fight once again. Um, this time it's Bahamut X who's going to find out that he's facing Puzzlemus.
Yeah, now this is going to be a little bit more interesting of a fight here. Bahamut's not going to have that adamant armor, and his Fu is a little bit on the underpowered side. He didn't fully power up Fu, if I recall correctly, only getting him to about that 1600, 1700 HP mark. So might see some slightly different tactics here. Might see a little bit more Big Bang. So let's see how Bahamut handles this.
I mean, the real thing is, like, if you want to defeat Zeramus, all you really need is Cecil and Rosa. Those two can do it. Any other characters who can contribute to it, like make the fight go faster most of the time, but he's got the tools that he needs to win.
Absolutely. You need someone to do damage, and you need somebody to keep the person doing damage alive. Those are the bare essentials to getting through the Zeramus fight. Everything on top of that is just a bonus. I know one of the best pieces of advice I ever got when I was starting Free Enterprise was as long as you have a stack of Cure 3s and a stack of life potions, you can beat this fight with any team.
Yeah, and like the limits of what you're able to defeat this fight with, as just like any character can solo Zeramus, and it's just crazy to see how much thought and effort has been put into strategies to defeat this at low levels. We're lucky that we've got, in this case, nice, decent, beefy characters. That makes it a lot easier.
Absolutely. I need to stop looking at Puzzlemus' sprite because instead of focusing on the commentary, I'm just like looking for combo setups, and that's not going to be benefiting anybody.
You see, that's where I come into head, because this is not a puzzle game that I'm familiar with. I never had an N64, so.
Well, there's a lot of incarnations. It was there's Super Nintendo, Game Boy Color, N64, DS, any kind of version of Puzzle League you can find. Okay. Play it. It's so good.
I might have to check it out sometime.
So Gambit, Rex, what I'm hearing is you need to stick around for the next run then.
I have to learn about it, yeah. Although I have found that watching speedruns of races don't really give you an idea of what the game is actually about.
You need to learn to crawl before you can walk.
Something like that. They're almost always enjoyable. Speedruns are always fun to watch.
Yeah, so just to give sort of an explanation of one of the like strange anomalies about how the Zeramus fight works is you'll notice a lot of runners using some sort of item or attack to generate a counterattack nuke from Zeramus right off the bat. That's a technique we call nerfing a Big Bang. The way the game is programmed is it wants to give Zeramus a very high amount of magic power so that the Big Bangs hurt for a lot. But it doesn't want him to have so high magic power that its nukes can basically one-shot a party member. So when you hit Zeramus with an attack that triggers a counter nuke, Zeramus voluntarily lowers his magic attack for that nuke spell so that it doesn't hurt quite so badly. Now, he does have a trigger also to increase his magic attack back to normal, but if you're able to trigger that reduction in magic attack close enough to when a Big Bang goes off, he doesn't do it in time for the Big Bang, and that's when you'll get Big Bangs that do significantly less damage than what they normally do. And by using that properly, you can really limit the amount of damage that incoming damage you're taking from the fight.
For that first Big Bang, the timing window is huge. Anytime before the first Big Bang comes up, you're good. Subsequent ones become very difficult to time right, and that kind of depends on like what battle speed you have set up, what agility setup you have for your party to make sure that you're hitting it right at the precise moment. And oftentimes you just won't even see it because it's just not worth it to worry about anything like that. Because if you end up triggering that counter nuke and then taking a full powered Big Bang after it, that can spell disasters for even the most prepared of party.
Yeah, speaking of disasters, Bahamut getting caught in one of the classic traps and one of the problems with the reflect strats of reflecting nukes onto Zeromus. Zeromus' script is set up so that occasionally after a Big Bang, he will use the Black Hole spell, which casts Dispel on all of your party members. That's going to remove any reflect status that you have set up. He ran into that problem there where the Black Hole came out while Fusoya was charging up a nuke on himself, stripped the reflect stratus from himself, and the nuke just hit Fusoya full on, taking him down and requiring Rosa to have to bring him back up and set things back up again.
Well, that's the nice thing about having a very high level Rosa who has access to life too and just bring him back up to full health. Very nice to have at that point in time. And we see a single target nuke coming out from Zeromus here, and this was not a counter nuke. This is just it casting nuke by itself, and that is part of its script in the second phase of the Zeromus fight. So that means that we're about halfway done at this point, at least.
Yeah, it can be very difficult to tell where exactly you are in the fight if you're not explicitly counting your outgoing damage. So him being able to cast that nuke is sort of a tell that you can use to sort of give you an idea of how far along in the fight you are and what sort of attacks you need to prepare for, because none of the attacks that Zeromus do are random. It is a very, very rigid schedule that he adheres to with all of his attacks. So as long as you know what phase you're in and what his last attack was, if you've studied his script enough, you can know exactly what's coming up next.
And even if you don't know the script itself, like the order that things happen, there are certain things that only happen in certain phases. And so if you recognize those particular things, like, oh, like I just saw that single target nuke, that means I'm in phase 2, or I just saw a meteor, that means I'm in the final phase. So these are the sort of things you can recognize to know where you're at. And this meteor means we are almost done.
Yeah, Meteor Phase signals that Zeromus is down to his last 12,000 HP. It's basically a race to the finish. All he's going to do from this point on is spam the Meteor spell. This is great for characters with a high willpower like Rosa. Since it's a single attack roll on that, she is very likely to be able to dodge them. The attack itself can't do much more than 1,000 damage to each character. It can be very deadly if it immediately follows a Big Bang, but at this point, he's got things under control. Should be able to storm into the finish line here. Just needs to do a bit more damage.
Comes the next meteor, and Fusia is going to take a nap. That little mop there is going to rest on the floor, and I think that's going to be fine. And there we go. Zeromus is crumbling to the ground, and Bahamut X has finished the race.
GG's to Bahamut X, finishing with a time of 2 hours, 8 minutes, 56 seconds. Congratulations to him for taking down Puzzlemus. We'll get him in here and see if we have a few words with him. And don't go anywhere because I have it on the authority of a certain blue-haired princess that we might have another special surprise coming up here.
What? I like surprises.
Oh,
I also have a donation to read.
Oh, go right ahead.
We have a $20 anonymous donation that says supporting my fellow FF4 free enterprise runners and a great cause. So thank you so much for that donation.
Thank you very, very much.
Big ups to the Final Fantasy IV free enterprise community showing up today. Been really fun to have you, and thanks for all the donations for this great charity. And hopefully we'll get Bahamut X in here very shortly. I think this was a really good showcase race of some flags that we don't see quite often, especially since we're in the midst of this really hyper competitive tournament that's going on right now. To see things like the Dark Matter hunted push B to jump and the adamant armor being used and everything, it's just really puts a lighter spin on Free Enterprise than we've been seeing a lot recently.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that's just really fantastic about Free Enterprise as a randomizer is just how modular it is. The flag system that it uses is extremely extensive for customizing your experience to just what you want. I mean, we showcase a lot of races with Free Enterprise, but that is by no means the only way to experience the game. It's very, very fun for just casually playing around with. You can make a very casually oriented flag set where you're just exploring around, finding all these fun things, breaking the game in certain ways. You can also ramp up the difficulty for an extreme challenge in what we refer to as cataseeds, where you're basically playing a game of attrition with some extremely difficult, not only just difficult flags, but very limited resources as well. So a lot of ways to play the game. And I believe we are joined by Bahamut X. Bahamut X, GG, congratulations on your finish.
Hey, thanks to the GG's and GG's to Gambit. That was quite the see, quite the race there.
Yeah. So this, do I understand that this was a flag set that you and Gambit sort of devised together. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, all the credit goes to Gambit. He one created, and I was like, hey, press B to jump and Dark Matter, which aren't really used that much in races. Hey, let's do it. Show it off and have some fun with it.
Well, show it off and have fun is something I think both of you did today in spades, and that was really good to see. Tell me about your experience in this particular run and what you thought of it.
Where do I start? Well, I don't know if the people behind the scenes told you, but do you guys understand why I think my screen cut off for like 10 seconds? Did you guys tell them why?
I didn't know what was going on. Spapey might have seen a little bit more, but
I had a little bit of cat aggro. I have a cat. I love her, and my computer's on the floor and the button's on top of it, and I think she might have, or maybe I have two cats, might have stepped on it like once or twice, but over the last 3 years, and never while streaming. I don't think never while streaming, and definitely never during marathon have they ever stepped on the power button before. So that's something that's never happened, which is a traditional marathon thing. And also, this is the second time a computer has turned off during a marathon. When I did River City Girls back in March, I was the one on site up in Minneapolis, and I forgot to plug my laptop in. So,
oh no.
Well, cat aggro, that is definitely a thing to be wary of.
I'm pretty sure my little puppy Primrose has contributed to the commentary inadvertently a little bit in the background, so I totally understand that situation.
Yeah, and man, I wish I did a little more safety saving. I usually safety save places like the one where I came across Valvalis. I could have sworn I saved before I went inside that building, and no, I did not.
Yeah, that was a rough one there, that for sure. I'm glad that you had fun despite your cat really making a mess of things today, but it was really good to see you. Did you have any other thoughts on the run or the events that you've been a part of today?
I'm going to say again, great to see. This was a lot of fun. I'm glad I went for the Dark Matters because where was the Pinktail?
It was behind the, I believe it was Dr. Lugai on the King of the Fame Arch.
Oh, the King. Okay, cool. I hadn't done those yet, but very cool. And let's see.
Yeah, you went down there at a pretty low level, and so even though, like, Dr. Lugai and Dark Elf aren't the hardest bosses to get there, your levels were still so low that you kind of paused for a moment and like, nah, I better not. Is what it seemed like.
Yeah, it was. I knew I was gonna go back there, but once I got really close to the 30, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna focus on the 30. And then especially when I got the Twin Harp, I'm like, all right, this is what I'm going for. Otherwise, it was really fun seeing. Like I said, it was fun to go for Dark Matter. I'm really happy with the final 5. Basically the 4 of the 5 were names that me and Gambit put in. And also, Asuka, also I now put in for Bahamut and Motas. So that was really cool to line up with those 5. So I was really happy about that.
Well, awesome. GG's again. And thanks to both you and Gambit for putting on such a great show today.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you so much to Rex Rawl, Samantha Pete. Sorry, I'm mispronouncing that.
That's all right.
I know. I'll get to hear it eventually. And thanks for Moonblade Voice for hosting us, and Midwest Beef Fest for letting us put on this super awesome randomizer again. I love this randomizer so much. It's been great. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the marathon, and thanks again for having me.
Hey, thank you for running, and appreciate all the hard work you put in.
Thanks. It was a good time.
And it looks like, we do have time to show off the surprise here. I'm being told by Scala Kitty here. So you might know that there was a donation incentive here for both the choice of Twin Harp music and the choice of Zeroma Sprite. And since we've got the extra time, we're going to show you off the alternative music and sprite that didn't quite make it. So thank you so much for your donations for what we do have. And now we're going to show you a little bit of what it could have been over here on the right screen.
A little extra sprite, a little extra music. Looking forward to this.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Oh.
I've got the stream up myself here, and nice.
Oh, wow.
Now that's a sprite.
Again, such amazing art from Scala Kitty.
So yeah, that is Beldo from Azure Dreams, and that is really gorgeous. And our dev hacked Cecil taking him down with no problem.
Oh, I guess I also want to say, thanks to Scala Kitty and Board, I think, for the the music and the graphics, and for creating the randomizer too. So amazing job by everybody putting this together.
That is a gorgeous sprite.
So I guess that's the trick to making Dark Knight Cecil usable. Just got to get him to level 99. Yeah, and shout outs to Calamity as well for crafting these music tracks. I can't wait to hear what the other ones, because that rendition of Slide was really, really good on the harp.
Slide was amazing.
Oh yeah. Shout out to him, and also shout out to Zaruba, who was our tracker too. So thanks for helping us there too.
And we're going to get loaded here so we can hear the music. And we're going to be a little quiet over here on the commentary end so that we can hear it in all of its glory. But yeah, while that's loading up, definitely stay tuned for. But yeah, while that's loading up, definitely stay tuned. I know that we still have the rest of the incentives here. I know extra Breath of the Wild speedrun donation incentives for the extra Breath of the Wild. We've got Pokemon Puzzle Challenge coming up next, which we saw a little taste of in the Z Sprite there. That we saw both Bahamut and Gambit take out. So stay tuned for that next. Definitely looking forward to that.
Oh.
This is another great track. The harp is being put to all of its work.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing what kind of the tones and the complexity you can squeeze out of the SNES music engine. That's another incredible track there from Calm Lamity. Just got to mention as well, Diddy Kong Racing is 2 runs away, so we've seen stuff in this free enterprise randomizer seed from both our next run and the following run. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, and with that, I believe we are finished with our exhibition of Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise. Hope you enjoyed the showcase run today with our 2 racers. Certainly was a lot of fun to broadcast. I had a blast commentating with you, Rex, and I'm really looking forward to the rest of the runs we've got going on today.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to be in the booth with you, Smeagdy. And Blaze, you're putting on a great show too.
Hey, thanks. This was great.